Flying in a plane is not only the fastest way to get to a destination, it's also the safest. Despite this fact, some engine issues, bad weather, and even pilot errors can occur and lead to a plane crash. But even when these rarities occur, there are often survivors who make it off the plane alive. These stories of plane crash survivors are proof that even when the odds are against people, they can still find a way to make it out of unimaginable circumstances. The probability is very high that most of us will never have to experience a plane crash, but there are plenty of people who have, and have lived to tell the tale.
My name is Wendy Robinson Fernsell, and on August 2nd, 1985, I was a flight attendant on Delta Flight 191 that crashed on landing in Dallas-Fort Worth.
The 1957 crash of an army plane into a mountain in Cebu, Philippines, killed the seventh country's president, Ramon Magsaysay, as well as 25 other passengers and crew. The sole survivor was journalist Nestor Mata, who had second and third degree burns all over his body. He was found on the side of a steep cliff. In 18 hours, rescuers took turns carrying Mata down the cliffside in a hammock. When a physician saw what I had just done, he remarked, "You are a newsman to the end," Mata told Philippines Free Press. On October 13, 1972, Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 carrying 45 passengers, including players from the Uruguayan rugby team and their relatives, crashed. 10 people were killed immediately, the rest had to endure the cold in the high mountains. The position of the plane falling was a ridge at an altitude of 3,000 meters above sea level without food. By the 72nd day of the accident, they were saved, but only 16 people survived. In order to survive in the icy conditions, they were forced to eat the flesh of their dead comrades, because the food they carried quickly ran out, and there was nothing to eat around, only ice and snow, and rocky mountains. Later, to help survivors avoid the acts of public opinion about cannibalism, many cited a verse from the Bible, "No man hath greater love than this, that he lay down his life for his friends," from the Gospel of John book. In January 1972, a terrible aviation accident also happened with a McDonnell Douglas DC-9 to 3 passenger plane from Copenhagen, Denmark, to Zagreb, Yugoslavia. A bomb installed by terrorists in the luggage compartment exploded, while the plane was flying at an altitude of 10,600 m over the Czech town of Srpska Kamenica. 27 passengers and crew died. Only 22-year-old hostess Vesna Vulovic escaped death, despite traumatic brain injury, both legs broken and 3 vertebrae. Over the next 27 days, Vesna fell into a deep coma, and the next 16 months were treated according to a special regimen. Unlike passengers who fell in the same seat with seat belts, Vesna completely fell without a parachute, without a seat, from a height of over 10 kilometers, but still did not die. The Guinness Book of Records recorded this case. In 1985, Delta Flight 191 crashed when it landed in Dallas after getting caught in a storm, hitting a car and 2 water tanks when it made contact with the ground. Although 136 people were killed and another 27 were injured, flight attendant Wendy Robinson Fernsell survived. Fernsell was a last-minute replacement for a coworker who called in sick, but miraculously, she managed to survive the crash. When the plane stopped moving, Wendy snapped into action, trying to help the passengers who remained. She climbed out of the plane and ran 75 yards away to safety. Eventually, she ended up returning to the wreckage in a police car, looking for her fellow crew members to find who else survived. Although Wendy did eventually find the courage to fly again, she is no longer a flight attendant, and instead works as a high school French teacher. In the same year, one of the most catastrophic air accidents that could be said was the crash of a Japan Airlines Boeing 747 State Route 46 on August 12, 1985, which happened near the Takamagara Mountains about 100 miles from Tokyo. Of the 520 people on board, only 4 survived, and were all female. Flight attendant Hiroko Ishizuki, passenger Mikiko 34 years old with her 8-year-old daughter, and especially 12-year-old Keyko Kawakami. Age is entangled in the top of a tall tree. On November 14, 1992, Annette Herfkens from the Netherlands and her fiancé Willem van der Paa and 31 passengers left Ho Chi Minh City for Nha Trang on Vietnam Airlines flight number 474. Unfortunately, the plane crashed on top of a mountain and fell into O Ca Valley in Son Trung Commune, Con Son District, Con Hoa Province. Many passengers died immediately, others still alive, but then breathed their last a few days later. Particularly, Annette, despite being seriously injured, still lived for 8 days until she was saved. She was the only one who survived, even though her husband died in the crash. She had fractured hips, a collapsed lung, and her jaw was displaced, but she still managed to climb out of the plane and used any source of water she could find to stay hydrated, meditating to pass the time. Eventually, she was rescued when a police officer found her out there. They showed me a passenger list from the flight, and I pointed out my name, she said in her book Turbulence, a true story of survival. They had body bags with them, thinking that nobody could possibly have lived. The crash of Comair Flight 5191 had only one survivor, that is the co-pilot, Jim Polehinke. The crash killed 49 passengers at Lexington's Bluegrass Airport, according to WKYT. Polehinke sustained some serious injuries and later had one of his legs amputated. He was told he would never walk again. He kept that article with all the pictures of the people's faces and their profiles under his chair, his wife told WKYT. And he knows each person, their faces, and their names and what they did, where they were going. Polehinke opened up about the crash in the 2013 documentary Soul Survivor. On June 30, 2009, an Airbus A310 aircraft carrying 142 passengers and 11 crew members flying from the Yemeni capital Sana'a to the city of Moroni, the capital of the African island nation of Comoros, suddenly crashed off the coast of Indian Ocean. Rescuers are not hoping to find any survivors. But the miracle happened. After 10 hours after the accident, from the helicopter, the people participating in the rescue discovered a person floating on the water. That girl Bahia Bakari, native of Comoros, living in Paris, France, was on her way home with her mother to visit her grandparents. Bakari was born on August 15, 1995, meaning that when the accident happened, he was less than 14 years old. Before she was dropped into the water, like all the passengers on the flight, she was unable to wear a life jacket. Although she could not swim, she held out for 10 hours by clutching a piece of embossed fuselage. Rapids on the water. Bakari, who is now 26 years old, has since published a book about her experience entitled Soul Survivor, where she discusses the unforgettably emotional aftermath of her experience. Thanks to an unsecured oil cap on the aircraft, a Northern Thunderbird Air flight headed to Kelowna, British Columbia, in 2011 crashed on a 6-lane street during rush hour. Although the pilot recognized that there was a leak and tried to turn around and return to the airport, it was too late. The plane crashed, killing the pilots, though miraculously all 7 passengers survived. One of them was 49-year-old Carolyn Cross, who was sure she would die in the crash, sending emails to her husband's children as the plane turned around. According to what Carolyn told the website Chatelaine, she blacked out as the plane was falling, and woke up later when she smelled fuel. She managed to drag herself to the door of the plane, and someone who witnessed the accident was able to carry her to safety. Her list of injuries was long, including broken ribs and teeth as well as jaw and head trauma, but she was able to eventually recover and return home to her family. Thank you for watching our video. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe to the Ask K-pop Entertainment channel. Also, if you want us to make more videos about any interesting information, please comment below. See you soon, bye bye.